Hey guys, welcome back to a new week's episode. Recently I went to go visit Silverpicker, and before then, before we went to meet, I was starting to think about some of the things he does to help with investment, also with coin collecting, where he says that most of his coin collecting was pretty much free, where he would buy collections, pull out what he wants, sell off the rest, not exactly make money off of, but make back what he sold or what he bought it for, should I say. So it got me thinking. I had a little bit of money on the side, and just recently I bought a collection for about $600. It just came in today, which feels like almost 20 pounds of stuff. It's all foreign, all a lot older, and mostly silver. I apologize, I have the hiccups. But like I said, it's mostly silver. Let me change the camera angle here, and we'll be right back. So as you can see here, a medium-sized priority box from USPS, and it feels slap full. And a package, both from the same guy. I will get these open and get things sorted out, and we'll be back to look through it all. See you in a minute. So I got this all out and kind of going with the taffy coin style, where he goes kind of on the carpet. So we're laying all this out here, and not exactly what I expected. It's a lot of modern coins. The only saving grace is they're all BU. They're all mint state condition. Got coins from the Netherlands Antilles, from modern Russia. No USSR that I could see so far. New Zealand coins, which I haven't gone through yet, but it seems like all these packages are one nation. Bermuda. Now the largest package, of course it's two packages. The first package is the older coins from the 19 teens up to the 30s. These are French coins, and then there's modern coins in the back. Then Italy, and this one package had Hong Kong and Singapore. So I'm going to go through these, see what I can find that might be valuable. If not, I might be selling these off in lots. Alright, we'll be back in a bit. Now we'll start off with the older French coins, but first, if you've seen these on my videos, basically, you can design these on Photoshop or GIMP or something like that, and send your design to a company that makes gaming mats for your computer. I actually got the size of this mat from a gaming mat site. Design this out, send them in the design. They made these for me. They're about $40 each. And of course I leave spaces for sorting out my coins when I'm searching through them. And of course my design advertisement and everything. It's been a good mat so far. I've had it for quite a few months. I actually bought 3 of them. One for my little table, one for my desk, and one I keep in the box to keep it clean in case I ever mess one of these up. So anyway, getting back to the earlier French. we have some 1917, 1819 into 20s and 30s. All 5 centimes. They all seem to be in very good shape. I'll look through these, see if there's any key dates or pretty valuable ones. Keep them for myself or sell them. And sell the rest in lots. Some newer 5 centimes, 60s, and going into the early 70s. Throughout the 70s into the 80s. And the 90s. Some 10 centimes from the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s. Going into the 60s. I don't see any 50s here. The 60s and 70s into the 80s. 80s into the 90s into the 2000s. And it looks like an extra 85. Well, no, the 85 just came out of the slot and they put it down here. Alright, 25 centimes. An 03 going into the 20s and the 30s. Those might be worth a little bit of money. Some more 30s. Into the 50 centimes for the 20s. And the 30s. And the 40s. Alright. Be right back. Let me pull out the modern ones. And we'll go through those. Alright, be right back. There should be the second set of French coins. That's the only one that came in 2 different sets. So we'll see what's in there. Alright, after fighting with the cellophane for a bit, we have some half francs. Half francs. Which of course the 50 centimes turn into the half franc. Or franc, it's franc in French, but English we call it the franc. So 60s up to the 2000s. Then we go into the francs, or the francs. Some 20s. Looks like we have a variant there. 40s. 44. This may be during occupation time. I have to go back and remember my history on the World War II era. Into the 40s and 50s and 60. '60s through the 70s, I skip the 80s and go into the 90s. '90s up to 2001. Then you have the 2 francs. Looks like a lot of brass or aluminum brass coins. So you have the occupationals, 40s up into the 50s, 79, then the 80s, into the 90s, up 2000. A lot of modern coins in here for the amount I paid. I said 600 earlier. I apologize. This was supposed to be worth 600. I bought it for 300. So hopefully the guy will work with me and give me at least a little bit back, or work out a better deal. 5 francs from the 70s and 90s. There's an 87 in there. Some more 5 francs from the 40s up through the 50s, and then the 70s. Some 10 francs from the 50s into the 70s, into the 80s, and 90s up to 2000. I mean, this is a good set if you're working on date sets or something like that. It'd be great to sell in lots, and maybe you have decades or something like that. I might sell the 40s and 30s and the 20s, teens, and singles, probably individually, but maybe the 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, which the 2000 and 2001 coins I'd put with the 90s. I would sell them in lots. Some more 10 francs. 1929, I know those were silver. In the 40s, 50s. And then 50 francs from 51, 52, and 53. There's actually a little bit of value in here. I can probably make some money off of these. I'll be back with the next country. Now, after France, I'm starting to see a lot of modern coins. I really haven't seen many. When I say modern, 50 through the 90s and then 2000. I'm not really seeing the older ones from the 40s and back. I'm gonna take the Italy set here. Kind of spotty a little bit. Got a couple of 50s, 2 lire, 1 lire. The 60s, 2 lire. 90s, 5 lire. 60s, 100 lire. And 10 lire from the 80s. Page of 5 lires up top. 70s, 80s, and 90s. Some 10 lires from the 90s and one from the 80s. I apologize. Some 20 lires from the 70s and 80s. 50 lires from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. 70s, 80s, 90s. Some 100 lires from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. From the 70s, 80s, 90s. And then 500 lire coins from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. or should I say 200 lire from the 70s and 80s, and then 500 lire from the 90s. Yeah, not much gold or silver in those at all. More modern. So, next up we have Singapore and Hong Kong. These are a little bit out of order. 10 cents from Singapore, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And this one goes all the way up to 2014. $2016 for the 20 cents. And these are real modern. 2015 for the 5 cents. $2001 for the 1 cent. That's all Singapore. Next up, the Hong Kongs. I see a 2017 for the 10 cents. Very, very modern. 70s up to 98 for the 20 cents. See, 98. So 70s to 98 for the 50 cents. 50s to the 70s for the 10 cents. And the 40s, or 49, and then the 50, and then 60s and 70s. There's another 50. 5 cents here. Yeah, nothing really old or silver in that one either. Let's try another country. Alright, so lastly we have Bermuda. A lot of 5-cent coins from the 70s, 80s up to 2004. 10-cent coins from the 70s up to 2000. Some 1-cent coins from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s up to 2015. Some more 5 cents from the 60s up to 2015. See some 70s, some 80s, up to area into the 90s and the 2000s. And then the scallop 10-cent coins from the 60s. Some square ones. So basically all odd-shaped coins again will probably go in my collection, or some of these will. I do collect odd-shaped coins as well. Not going to collect all of these, but at least 1 or 2 of each. So, how to do? I believe I paid too much for this, and hopefully I can work something out with the guy. I mean, if not, I will be losing money on this. There are a few things that will go into my collection. There is a new collection to be started with the Soviet coins. Next up, we got New Zealand. Again, like I said, a lot of these coins are BU. Very brilliant, very uncirculated coins. Looks like a good mix of 1, 2, and 5 cent coins. From the 80s and 90s, I see 1 170 in there. The 79 2-cent. Some 10 cents, 20 cents, some more 10 cents from the 2000s, the 80s, and the 90s. I already have a small typeset of New Zealand's. Some more 10 cents and 5 cents. Looks like the 90s and 2000s and late 80s. On to the last, which will be the Bermuda coins. When I saw these earlier, I saw more modern dates in the 90s and 2000s. But there are some from the 60s and 70s and 80s. So these are Soviet and then post-Soviet coins. So, of course, anything in the 80s and back would have the CCCP, known as the USSR during the Cold War. So a lot of these are Soviet coins. So they might have a little bit of value to them. These might end up going individual, and then the more modern ones, post-Soviet, would probably be going in groups. So we have Kopek, 1 Kopek coins. I might actually make a Soviet typeset out of this. Some 2 Kopek coins. Ooh, 1943 Kopek. Then some 80s 3 Kopek. That might end up getting some value on it. 10 Kopeks from the 80s into the 90s and the 2000s. Some 10 rubles from the 2000s, looks like 2010 up to, looks like there's different types because you have different numbers. The Y numbers are different each time. I'll have to research into that. Might be different variants of coins. You got 1461, 1462, and 1469, and 1465. I have to research into that. One might be more valuable than the other. Oh, I see. They're themed. Battle of Stalingrad. War of 1812, first space flight. I'll look into those when I get to them. More 10 rubles. Alright, 20 Kopeks. 15 Kopeks from the 40s. A 2 Kopek from the 60s. So yeah, definitely might be making a Soviet typeset out of these. Some 85, some mid 80s to late 80s 50 Kopeks into the 90s and 2000s. Alright, on to the next country. It looks like New Zealand. So I'll be back in just a second. So next up are the Netherlands Antilles. Looks like we have a few 50s, mostly 60s, into the 70s and 1980 for the 1 cent. Through the 80s and 90s up to 2014 for the 1 cent, up 2016, my bad. Then the 2.5 cents, 1950s and 60s, 1979, 1980s, up to 85. Nice. Some diamond coins, I'll definitely save those. 5 cents from the 70s and 80s. I do like the odd shaped coins. 10 cents from the 70s. 10 cents from the 80s and 90s. Up to 2008. Up to 2016. 25 cents from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Sounds like a radio station. 70s, 80s, and 90s. Ooh, another diamond. I'll be keeping that one. That's 25 cents all the way up to 2016. Then you have the 150-cent piece there from 1990. And like I said, saving grace, a lot of these coins look like the BU, if not AU. Barely even any tarnish at all in the copper or brass coins. And the goldens. 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. Up to 2016, then the 2.5 golden. Let's see, that's 70. You go up here. That's just a regular golden. So, yep, again, mostly modern coins. Nothing when it comes to line of silver coins. But still some pretty neat coins in there that I might save since they are the square or the diamond coins. But we'll be back here with modern Russia. Alright, so next we go into the Netherlands. Got a page of 5 cents from the 50s and 60s. Looks like there's a couple variations there. Really modern goldens. 1988 of 2001. Some 2.5 goldens. 1969, the 70s, and the 80s with a variant. Another variant. 90s up to 99. And again, I'll have to look at those, see if there's any extra premium to those at all. Some 25 cents from the 1990s up to 2001. Some 1 goldens from 1967 up to 87. Some 10 cents, looks like the 90s up to 2001. 5 cents from 70 up to 91. Some actual old ones. Looks like 1 cent from 1916, the teens, the 20s, 30s up to 41. Then it starts in 42 up to 44, 4, and then there's a 48 down the bottom. Then 50 through the 60s, 51 to 67. Mind you, these are all 1 cent. There might be a value in there, but I really don't know. Late 60s up to 1980. Some 5 cents from 92 to 2001. Now these are neat. I might actually keep those because I do like the square coins. 41 through 43, 5 cents. And 48, 5 cents. 10 cents, we got some early 40s, the 50s, and 60s, up to 69. Some 70s up to the 90s. 25 cents from the 50s and 60s and the 70s. Sorry, my voice is starting to get tired. 70s, 80s, and 90s. So that's it for the Netherlands. Be back with the Netherlands and Antilles. Guys, a little bit of an update. I have at least gone through 10-15% of the coins that came in and priced them. And surprisingly, that little bit is over $200. So I have definitely, I'm definitely going to recoup the money, even after keeping a few coins for myself. So I might be back here in a moment, after all the coins, and I'll give a total of what I think it's worth. We'll see you in a second. So, 3 days after I made the last video, I didn't realize that the seller sent in 2 packages. Just yesterday, the second package came in. Let me flip it. And basically, this is mostly high-end, older, foreign, and silver. I will be sorting through this and categorizing it by country. And we'll be right back. So, after sorting by country, quite a few countries in here, but mostly this right here is United States coinage. Cents, nickels, dimes, and yes, there are a lot of barber dimes in there. Quite a few Roosevelts and a couple Mercurys. Some quarters, and there's a barber quarter in there. Dollar, some of the ones I'm keeping for my collection over here. Then we go into Australia. I'm not sure what that is. I think that's it's not Iceland. I think it's Norway. That pile of little ones in this pile is Canada, French, Indian, UK. As you can see, it's a pretty high pile of that. I had to put it in 2 piles. Ireland, Germany, New Zealand, Netherlands and Antilles. I have Chile and Brazil here. Panamanian. Arabian, I believe, or could be Somalian. I'm not sure. Spanish. That Netherlands made it in the wrong pile. Singapore, Hong Kong. A Kenya coin I might end up keeping because I don't have Kenyan. Palestine, 2 mil. This is the British mandated Palestine before it became Israel. Cuban centavos, Mexican coins, pretty good pile of them. Greek, Jamaican, Italian. Actually, pretty good year right there, 1866, but the coin is trashed. It'd be more of a giveaway type coin. Bermudan, Russian, both of them are Soviet. Finland. And then all these packets here contain coins, mostly all silver coins. And bottom box is British half pennies and full pennies. And I have seen some Victorias in there up to Edward and George V, George VI, and Elizabeth II. It's mostly pre-decimal pennies. And the same with the Australian pennies and half pennies. So all in all, this was actually a pretty good deal. I will be making a list of this stuff. And we'll be selling most of it. If you're interested in any of the countries here, please hit me up. My email address is in the About tab on the front page of my YouTube here. And I should have a list sometime next week. Until next time, enjoy life, and we'll see you again.